I got the world record for Plants vs. Zombie 2's hardest speedrun, all worlds. This is where you beat all 312 levels in the game's 11 worlds in order in the most updated version. Yeah, this took a really long time. Now to begin, the game starts us out with 5 very easy tutorial levels before we get to ancient Egypt. These teach us how to plant things, how to use sunflowers, and a couple strategies, but in general, we just want to plant 3 to 4 sunflowers and then get as many pea shooters or cabbage pults down as fast as possible. But after we beat those 5 levels, Crazy Dave gets some hot sauce for his taco, and we go back in time to ancient Egypt, where the game introduces plant food. This is a consumable you get throughout levels that gives plants powerful effects, like the pea shooter shoots a ton of peas at once, or the cabbage pult shoots cabbages at a ton of zombies in different lanes. This level also gives us so much plant food to start that we don't even need to plant a sunflower, and we can just repeatedly use our cabbage pult's plant food to finish everything off. Also, I should mention that we want to take out zombies as quickly as possible. Basically, how this game works is once you do around 50% of the current wave's health, the game will send out the next wave. This is called the 50% rule, and it's how we go faster for speedruns. Then day 2 introduces power-ups, which are items that usually cost coins to use and are really effective at killing zombies. These levels give us all our power-ups for free though, so we can just spam the electric and snowball one to beat the level quickly. Now on to day 3, we start out with 2 sunflowers and a cabbage pult, and because of that, we don't need to worry about planting any additional sunflowers and just get cabbage pults on every lane before also using a few plant foods to finish out the waves. Next up for day 4, we get the bloomerang as our newest plant, and this is our first conveyor belt level. Now one lesser known thing about conveyor belt levels is you want to plant things from the conveyor belt as quickly as possible. If you leave plants on the conveyor belt, the game will actually end up giving you less additional plants. So by putting our plants up as soon as we see them, we can fill up half the map with bloomerangs and beat this level quicker than usual. Then after this level, the game also makes us level up our pea shooter, and leveling up plants will actually be pretty important for this run. Any plant we'll use a good amount during the run is 100% worth a level up, so I'll be doing that periodically. Next, day 5 is our first normal level, where we don't start out with anything already on the map. In most of these early ancient Egypt levels, either 5 or 6 sunflowers will be enough, so we can focus on getting those up straight from the beginning before putting out cabbages and bloomerangs so our shots don't get stopped by the graves. Bloomerangs are especially good for lanes with these camel zombies because it doesn't just stop at the first zombie and hits multiple of them, which results in a good win. Then for day 6, we got another conveyor belt level. For this one, I like preemptively putting potato mines up front to hope they can get some kills, and then we'll just try to make sure each lane has a good variety of bloomerangs and cabbage pults. Then at the end, our first Gargantuar comes out, but I made sure my middle row had tons of plants to deal with him, and that's another level done. And now, for the first time in the game, we get to choose our plants instead of the game choosing for us. So I took everything but the pea shooter. Then right away we want to get a couple bloomerangs in the middle row, since the first camel zombie is always there, followed by putting plants everywhere and getting our win. This level then gives us 10 sunflower seed packets, which is perfect, since that lets us get level 2 for our sunflowers, which we'll be using for most of the run. And then day 8 is pretty easy. It does introduce torch zombies that will burn your plants if they touch them, but you can ice those zombies, insta-kill them with a mine, or take them out with a bunch of damage, so it isn't too bad. Day 9 is then the exact same strategy again, but on day 10 we switch it up since this time we want to get out 10 sunflowers. This is because the game really starts to up the amount of zombies it gives us, so the extra sunflowers will let us buy some more plants. Same general strategy as before other than that. And now going forward in Egypt, we'll always want to use 8 to 10 sunflowers, like in day 11 and 12, where we do just that, giving us some more wins. But day 13 decides to introduce the gimmick of Crazy Dave's mold colonies. These are spots we aren't allowed to plant, so our back 2 rows are pretty much useless. And because of that, we'll plant our sunflowers on the 5th and 6th rows, that way our damage dealing plants can go behind them. Since sunflowers only cost 50 sun, it's much better to lose them than it is to lose a cabbage pult or bloomerang, so this gives us a bit more safety from zombies, and from this level we finally get Bonk Choi, which who doesn't love this guy? So we can switch up our strategy for day 14 by having 1 cabbage pult in the back of each lane, and then some Bonk Chois up front. Bonk Chois do a ton of damage but have limited range, so they need to be up here to be effective, and they make this level very easy to beat. Then on to day 15, the game introduces endangered plants, which are plants where if they die, we instantly lose the level. In this level, we need to protect 3 sunflowers, which really isn't too bad, but there will be some very nasty versions of these levels later in the run. Here though, we'll just spam tons of Bonk Chois and take our win. Now day 16 is our normal cabbage pulp and bok choy strats, but on day 17, we get the restriction of never having more than 14 plants up at one time. Because of this objective, we'll only put down 5 sunflowers, get a cabbage pulp for each lane, and finish out with 4 bok choys by the front to give us a modest but very effective defense. Then for day 18, we get our first last stand level. These levels give us a set amount of sun, and we need to use that sun to plant everything we want at the beginning and hope it survives all the zombies that will be coming at us. And thankfully, these levels are great for speedrunning since my hands get a break from tapping my phone. I just like to have 2 lanes of bloomerangs, a few pea shooters, and a cabbage pulp. This way we have tons of DPS, and then can finish out the last few zombies with a cabbage pulp plant food to take out multiple guys at the same time. Now day 19 is another mold colony level, where our first 2 columns are off limits, and that's combined with a plant limit level, where we can have a maximum of 16 plants, but we just put down 5 sunflowers in row 5, plant some cabbage pulps behind them, and then put as many bok choys as possible to get the win. Then our next 4 levels are pretty much all just spam a lot of bok choys, but on day 24, we have another last stand level. For this one, I like to put 2 rows of repeaters in the back, and then some potato mines right in front of them just in case. We'll also put up a cabbage pulp for its OP plant food, and that gives us an easy win, so we're finally on to day 25, our first boss battle. In boss levels, we need to fight these zombots, and they can be really annoying. They're conveyor belt levels, so like usual, we'll plant things as quickly as possible, but the zombots really love destroying our plants, which is kinda rude, especially when you have a good setup going. They also send out regular zombies we need to protect our house from, so it's important to have some good defenses in the back, and then anytime we get a plant food, I like using it on a bok choy to get a good amount of damage into the zombot. Finally, after we beat the zombot, we get a key to the next world, which is Pirate Seas, but before we start the next world, I like to stop by the Zen Garden so we can get some daisies in there, which will give us coins 7.5 hours later. Yep, we're planning strats this far in advance. But anyways, Pirate Sea has the gimmick of cutting off the end of some of the lanes with water so you can't plant anything there. This makes these water lanes more vulnerable, so we need to protect them better. For the first Pirate Seas level, we only have one of these water lanes in the middle, so I like to keep putting mines there and also have a bok choy behind the mine for extra safety. Then we just want pea shooters and bok choys in each lane, and we're good to go. Next up, the game makes us go back to the Zen Garden to plant a sunflower. I really wish we could save this power, but unfortunately, we need to take the upgraded sunflower here, which gives us a free plant food effect every time we plant one. Yeah, this isn't really necessary for day 2, but it means we get our sun super quickly, and it's probably one of the easiest levels in the game because of it. The next 3 days are pretty much just bok choy and pea shooter strategies, but for day 6, we get the Snapdragon. He hits 3 different lanes with a fire attack and does pretty good damage, so I like to put my Snapdragons pretty far up with my bok choys. But the reason we really like him is for his plant food. This also hits 3 lanes in front of him and insta-kills any zombies in its radius, so this plant food is great for the final waves. That means going forward, we'll always use a mixture of bok choys and Snapdragons, or just Snapdragons by themselves since they're really good. Next up on day 8, we have our next conveyor belt level, and this one is pretty simple. Kernel Pults in the back, and then Snapdragons, walls, and spikeweeds up front, making it an easy victory. Then day 9 is a pretty standard pea shooter and Snapdragon strategy, but day 10 gives us spring beans. These little guys are only really useful in this world, but they're super nice here because they're basically an insta-kill. You can put them by a water lane, and they'll push zombies that come up to them into the water, giving us a free kill. Then they just need to rest for a little bit before doing the same thing over and over again, so it's really nice to plant these guys in the early game before we have too much defense, and then we'll have more time to get out our Snapdragons, bok choys, and pea shooters. Now day 11 is a pretty similar strategy to 10, but day 12 gives us our next minigame. Here we have 5 coconut cannons, and we need to use them to hit the seagull zombies flying around. Not even sure if you can actually lose this level, but I try to take them out fast. Now day 13 is a level where we need to produce 2000 sun before beating it, which isn't too bad. I just absolutely load up on the sunflowers, and otherwise play this level like usual, which gave us the win. Then day 14 is the last stand level, so here we want to have a back row of pea shooters, and then a ton of Snapdragons, and bok choys on the water lanes. Yeah, they give us way more money than we need for this level. Then day 15 is our first Don't Trample the Flowers level. Here we'll lose if a zombie crosses the line of flowers on the back row. There are some pretty difficult ones of this kind of level in the future, but for this one, it's not too worrying as long as we just have a ton of plants out. The only thing that's kinda worrisome is the cannon zombies, since they can send out a bunch of imps in various rows, but you just have to remain calm, and we got the win. But now day 16 is the first level where I wrote down in my notes, hard. And that's because it's an endangered plants level with 2 spring beans being the plants we need to keep safe. Now they can protect themselves alright, but for safety I like putting more spring beans on their lanes and a snapdragon right in front of them so we can use some really effective plant food. The biggest worry for this level is these barrel roller zombies, since they can one-shot plants by rolling over them, so you need to really focus on keeping these lanes safe to get the win. Next up is day 17, and this is a pretty normal level where we want to use our basic strategy of snapdragons and bok choys, but we do have the level objective of beating 20 zombies in 30 seconds. This is another level objective that will be very hard for future levels, but for this one, I just like to use a snapdragon plant food on a big wave of zombies, and that pretty much always beats the objective before we take home the win. On to day 18, here we need to survive with the plants the game gives us, and this time we don't get any sunflowers. Thankfully though, we get sun from the sky way faster than usual in this level, so my main focus is to put down as many pea shooters as possible to get us good damage on every row. Then we can also have spring beans by all the water lanes, and it's not too bad. But unfortunately, that then leads us to day 19, and this time our objective is to make 1,750 sun, and also not let any zombies trample our flowers, which are pretty far up this time. So basic strategy is 3 full columns of sunflowers in the back, with pea shooters on every non-water lanes, and a bok choy on the water lanes. This level is definitely a stressful one, but you just have to be careful, and eventually we took home the win. Now day 20 is another sun level where we need to collect 1,000 sun, but it's not nearly as bad as the previous level, so we had no problems at all. And for day 21, we have yet another sun level where we need to produce 2,500 and also defeat 5 zombies within 5 seconds. So my goal here is to have 3 full columns of sunflowers with pea shooters on column 2 and snapdragons and spring beans up front. Then to defeat 5 zombies in 5 seconds, we can use a snapdragon plant food, and everything else just comes down to fairly good playing, which gave us the win. Finally though, after that we get a break with Pirate Seas 22. This is a last stand level, and we're literally just gonna spam bloomerangs. Yep, that's the whole strategy, and it's really effective. Following that, for day 23 we need to defeat 8 zombies in 10 seconds, and not let zombies trample our line of flowers, so this one's another difficult level. So here, I like to completely focus on having around 7 sunflowers, and then tons of bok choys and a few spring beans in vulnerable parts. The high damage the bok choys have can deal with most zombies in this level, and then we can just use a plant food on our bok choys to get 8 kills in 10 seconds. But Pirate Seas wasn't going to give us any breaks now, because on day 24, we have 2 endangered spring beans to keep safe, and both of them are on water lanes. We do get to use a cool strategy here though, of placing kernel pults on those water lanes. Then if a kernel pult uses butter on a seagull zombie, they instantly fall down into the water, giving us some really good protection. We did have one very close call right here, so that could have been bad, but after that we survived to the end and finally got the cherry bomb, which is one of the most useful plants in the game. But now it's Zombot number 2 time, and this one isn't too bad. We'll just put spikeweeds and snapdragons up front, and our kernel pults, 3-peaters, and coconut cannons farther back, and slowly take down the boss. We can also use plant food on our snapdragons, which does tons of damage, and that's World 2 done. By the way, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm, and I'd appreciate it. So it's Wild West time, and here the gimmick is moving minecarts. If you place a plant in a minecart, you can move it over to cover multiple lanes, and it's actually a pretty great feature for us, especially in the early game. And for this first level, we'll just put down 5 sunflowers and spam pea shooters everywhere else. We can also finally start using cherry bombs, which are an insta-kill for any tougher zombies, and it's also really effective on the big waves at the end, so that's a nice bonus. Now for day 2, we get the split pea, which can shoot in front or behind itself, which is especially nice for zombies like the prospector zombie, who uses dynamite to get behind our forces and eat them from behind. I didn't end up needing to use split peas just yet for this level though, because as long as we do enough damage to them before they can jump with our pea shooters and snapdragons, it's easy enough to finish them out. Now day 3 is the same old strategy as before, but in day 4 we get a really interesting level. Here we get to put down just 1 plant per wave after seeing where the zombies are coming from. So we use that information to choose what rail to put each plant on and go from there. So yeah, really cool level idea. Then day 5 is our normal strategy, but this time we'll make sure to have at least 1 split pea per lane, because here's where we're starting to get more zombies coming at us. Not too much else to explain though. But day 6 is a last stand level, and for this one I like to have my split peas on the rails in the back, an entire column of pea shooters, 6 snapdragons up front, and spikeweeds in front of them. This gives us really fast damage, though unfortunately not enough to prevent a few zombies from going to the mowers at the end. Not really a problem though, as long as we're careful with how we use our mowers. Next up, day 7 is back to regular pea shooter and snapdragon strats, but day 8 is our next conveyor belt level, and it gives us pea pods. These are adorable little guys that have a unique function of letting you plant up to 5 of them in the same place. Unfortunate thing though, I forgot that was a feature. Oops. And because of that mistake, I ended up needing to use powers to deal with the stronger waves, since this level also doesn't give you mowers for protection. Definitely not my finest work, but that's how these super long speedruns sometimes go. At the very least, with this level done, we finally unlock one of the best plants in this speedrun, the lightning reed. These are plants that can hit their lane and adjacent lanes around them, they can hit multiple zombies, and they do a relatively weak amount of damage. But while they're weak on their own, having multiple of them is just overpowered. Especially in a speedrun setting, since we're constantly using the 50% rule to send more zombies out, lightning reeds only get more effective. So I like to leave spaces for them on the 2nd and 4th rows, that way we cover all lanes and just get as many as possible on the map. And then I haven't even mentioned the best part of them, their plant food. Their plant food generates a small storm cloud that randomly attacks different targets around the map. It lasts for around 15 seconds and can hit every lane, so it's super good, especially if you can stack a few of them at the same time. Overall, I love my lightning buddy and will be using them a lot, which is why day 10 is the exact same strategy, but on to day 11, we have the restriction of spending no more than 500 sun. Because of this restriction, we won't put out any sunflowers and instead just put a pea shooter on the back rail since it can hit every row and 3 lightning reeds in front of it, giving us a comfortable win. Now day 12 is one of these levels where you choose one plant at a time. I like to put a bloomerang on the middle rail and then make sure I have both a lightning reed and bloomerang for the top and bottom rows. After that, it's a pretty easy win. Next up, day 13, we're back to lightning reed strats. Only real thing to pay attention to here other than that is that there are now zombie bulls which will launch a zombie bull rider off their back once they approach a plant. So we can place something like a sunflower in front of them if we need, but overall, they aren't too bad. Then day 14 gives us chicken wrangler zombies, who release a flock of zombie chickens on their lane and the ones adjacent to them. But lightning reeds are the perfect counters to chickens, so not much changes for us. From here, day 15's objective is to not lose more than 2 plants. Because of this, I don't spam quite as many lightning reeds out, just for a bit of safety, but nothing else changes in our strategy. But then day 16 gets a bit more annoying. Here we have an endangered walnut really close to where the zombies are coming from, but at the very least, it's on a rail. So this level will be lightning reed strats while also paying attention to when I need to move the walnut. Not too bad since walnuts can take quite a few hits, but can be stressful on big waves. And the stress continues on day 17 since we have a don't trample the flowers level with the flowers about halfway up the map. This level can go very badly, so I like to put 10 sunflowers right in front of our flowers and our lightning reeds behind. Then we just have to make sure we pay attention to the bull zombies, and thankfully we got it done pretty quickly. Well, at least we get a break for day 18 since it's a last stand level and we literally just spam lightning reeds. Gotta love the strat. For day 19 though, we have 2 restrictions. We can't lose more than 2 plants and we can't spend more than 2,000 sun. Because of this, we'll put down 3 sunflowers, 1 pea shooter on a rail, and then the rest of our sun can go towards lightning reeds, just like usual. But on to day 20, here's where I made my next pretty substantial mistake. See, this is another one of those where you put down 1 plant per wave levels, but for some reason, I decided to put my first pea shooter about halfway up the map. This was a really bad idea since we don't get more damaging plants for another few times. So I had to use 2 lightning powers before finally getting a repeater and actually putting it in the back. After that, everything went fine, but I definitely didn't want to use those 2 powers here, especially because we want to save our coins for harder worlds later on. At least we made it past though. Next up, day 21 has the restrictions of using less than 1,750 sun and not letting zombies trample our flowers, so this definitely isn't my favorite level. I ended up using 3 sunflowers right ahead of the flower line so they could protect them if need be, and then from there, it was a bunch of lightning reeds. Like usual, these guys turned out to be awesome. But for day 22, we finally had to stop using lightning reeds for a bit since we needed to beat the level with the plants the game gave us. Because of this, I decided to put 6 sunflowers pretty far up for protection and then spam the rest of my lanes with bloomerangs, which is very important since this level has a lot of zombie chickens. The level wasn't going the greatest, but I made it to the end and could use my mowers to finish everything out. Except then a chicken slipped by and we got our first loss of the run. Still though, I knew it was fine since a few losses are kind of inevitable for a run this long and difficult, and even the previous world record before this one had a good amount too. By the way, shout out to Warmac Gaming. That's who had the previous world record, and I got most of the strats I'm using in this run from theirs, so their channel will be in the description. They're also really good at Plants vs Zombies, I recommend. Now day 23 gives us the restriction of not losing more than 2 plants, and not letting the zombies trample our flowers yet again. I wasn't too worried about this level, and went with pretty normal strats of placing sunflowers up front and our damage dealers in the back. But then the zombies ate 1 sunflower, then 2, and finally a 3rd. Yeah, all I had to do was use a couple walnuts here and there, and we would have been completely fine, but hey, it is what it is. Beat it the 2nd time, and there are only 2 levels left in the Wild West. But day 24 is kind of a scary level, since we have 3 endangered walnuts that are all pretty far up, but they're at least on rails. I like to usually try to keep them in a straight line, so I don't have to move them around that much, and then we'll put down a few pea shooters and lightning reeds until we're finally good to go. Boss fight number 3 time. For this Zombot, we have melon pults, lightning reeds, split peas, pea pods, and tall nuts. So not much that does an absolutely huge amount of damage, but more of a system where we can just get a bunch of consistent damage at all times. Not the easiest Zombot, but nowhere close to the hardest, so we finish it up quickly, and we're finally on to Frostbite Caves, where I was just hoping we wouldn't get more stupid deaths. Now day 1 in Frostbite Caves gives us a couple frozen walnuts on the map and slider tiles. The frozen walnuts are plants that the zombies just ignore until they get unfrozen, and you can unfreeze them by putting a warm plant like the snapdragon next to them or dealing damage to the ice around them. And the slider tiles push the zombies from one lane to another based on where the hand is pointing to, so the zombies at the end get pushed more towards the middle for this level. But these new mechanics don't really change up our strategy, since we'll just be spamming some more lightning reeds, and we're on to day 2. Here we get the hot potato, which costs 0 sun and can be used to unfreeze one of our plants. So that's really nice for the 3 free repeaters the game gives us this level, but this level also starts using chilling winds on us, which will come through and partially freeze some of our plants. After this happens a couple times, they get completely frozen and need to get thawed out. We'll get some better counters to this soon, but for now, it's not the biggest deal. Next up is day 3, and it's a conveyor belt level where every lane gets moved up by slider tiles to the top. Because of this, I like placing spike weeds at the ends of lanes 1 and 2, and then we have a few repeaters on those lanes too. Then when zombies get close to the end, we can use a hurricane to blow them back into the spike weed, making this level not too difficult. Now for day 4, it's a pretty simple lightning reed and snapdragon strategy, but on day 5 it's a conveyor belt level and finally gives us pepper pults. These guys are great in Frostbite Caves since they'll automatically thaw the ice from plants around them because they constantly give off heat, so we can strategically try to have them by our vulnerable plants, which makes this level much easier. And for day 6, we keep using the same strategy, basically just putting sunflowers and lightning reeds around our pepper pults so everything stays unthawed and it gives us an easy victory. Next up for day 7, this is a pretty fun strategy of having 9 sunflowers on lanes 1, 3, and 5, and then a bunch of lightning reeds on 2 and 4. This way we get tons of damage on all the lanes, and it's brutal for the zombies, making this level not a problem at all. Following that, day 8 is another conveyor belt level, and my notes simply say, game very hard. We get pepper pults and bong choys as our main damage dealers, but there's so much wind freezing our plants and a ton of zombies as well, along with snowstorms that give us huge waves of zombies that automatically get moved forward to about halfway up the map. So yeah, you gotta game pretty hard for this level. Now on to day 9, we have a pretty similar strategy to 7, where we want 9 sunflowers on 1, 3, and 5, and then lightning reeds on 2 and 4, but this time we'll also place down some pepper pults on 2 and 4 to keep everything warm. This will be our main strategy for most of these levels going forward in this world. But not for day 10 because it's a conveyor belt level, giving us pea shooters and charred guards. These charred guards can fling zombies back, giving our pea shooters more time to deal damage. Altogether, pretty well made level since we get plenty of good plants, and that's another win. Now day 11 makes us take 5 plants that the game chooses, and along with them we'll bring the sunflower and snapdragon. Now this isn't my favorite setup, especially because there are 4 flags for this level, so we really need to get as many snapdragons out as possible. Unfortunately though, I didn't really succeed. We just kept getting overwhelmed by zombies and I had to use a lot of money on powers. I probably should have used 1 or 2 powers early in the level and used that extra time to build up our snapdragons more efficiently, but instead I had plants dying a lot and used powers like 5 or 6 times. Not the cleanest level, but we got past it. At least hey, break time for day 12 since it's a last stand level. All we need for this one is a bunch of lightning reeds and pepper pults to unthaw them. I also had a couple potato mines ahead of them, which honestly wasn't the best plan since they kept getting frozen, so my lightning reeds would try to break them out, but we still got the win at the end. Then day 13 is a don't trample the flowers level, but these flowers are so far back it isn't really a problem. We just did our classic lightning reed strats here, and at the end for the gargantures, I was able to use a chard guard to keep our flowers safe and get the win. So on to day 14, in this level the game chooses our plants again. Basic strategy is to start out with pepper pulse to unthaw the sunflowers, and then just spam as many bloomerangs as possible. There were a lot of zombies in this level, so we had a few close calls, but we got it done. Then on day 15, we have 2 endangered pepper pulse we need to protect. I like to put my sunflowers right next to them so they're automatically safe from freezing, and then we can place more pepper pulse in the middle to keep our lightning reeds safe too. After that, all that's left is to place a couple chard guards to protect our endangered guys, and that's a pretty stressful level done. Following that is day 16, our next conveyor belt level. This level gives us repeaters, pepper pulse, chard guards, and spike weeds, so in general, I just try to put down a ton of pepper pulse to keep my other plants warm and hope we don't get too overwhelmed. This level does really like its wind though, and we don't get mowers for it, so it can get kind of dicey at points, but like usual, I still finished it out. So on to day 17, and this is our normal lightning reed strats, but day 18 is a conveyor belt level. This level gives us bloomerangs, onions which can stall zombies, and citrons which have a large charge up time, but deal 800 damage with their attacks. So pretty simply, we just need to get bloomerangs and citrons on every lane, and we're pretty much good to go. Then day 19 and 20 are normal lightning reed strats, before we get to day 21, which is a conveyor belt level that lets us use fire pea shooters. These plants are just better than the original pea shooter since they're a premium plant, and the basic strategy is to put them on our odd lanes and snapdragons on the even ones. Now for day 22, it's another lightning reed strat level, but day 23 has a bunch of endangered chard guards. Now thankfully these guys are pretty far back, but the game likes giving us snowstorms which push zombies right into them, and that can be pretty scary. Still though, lightning reeds like usual are the best strategy, especially given that this level has weasel hoarders, which can destroy us if we aren't careful. And zombie weasels, like the zombie chickens in the past, are best dealt with our lightning reeds. But yeah, we're definitely getting into the hardest levels of this world now. Next up for day 24, here we need to produce 2,500 sun. This is going to be the usual lightning reed strats, but I'll also plant some additional sunflowers here and there because the sun count is really close by the end and we're just barely able to finish the objective. Now on day 25, it's a conveyor belt level, and it mostly gives us rutabagas. These plants hover above the ground and shoot 3 tiny projectiles along their 4 diagonals. Because of this, it's best to place them on the 2nd and 4th rows behind the slider tiles, and then we can keep them heated with the pepper pulse we sometimes get this level. Then for day 26, we're back to lightning reed strats, but we'll also place a few rutabagas in the middle for additional damage, cause why not? And in day 27, we have to protect some endangered rutabagas. This isn't too bad since the endangered ones can deal with the first few zombies, giving us time to set up our sunflowers, pepper pulse, and lightning reeds. Then we'll just spam tons of lightning reeds and rutabaga, and the zombies just have no chance. Next up, day 28 is a last stand level, so we'll be going with 13 lightning reeds, 2 pepper pulse, and 5 walnuts to protect them. This keeps us pretty well protected for most things, though in the end we had to let one lane go to a mower because of a garganture. Still pretty good though. Then for day 29, we have to use the plants the game gives us, so I like getting out at least 1 fire pea shooter per lane and then put rutabagas all through the middle. And after that, it's boss number 4 time. This zombot is interesting because to damage it, we first need to break the ice protecting it. The boss will constantly try to put up more ice too, so the best way to go about this level is mostly plant things in the middle rows, and before long, we're just completely overwhelming this zombot with our firepower. And with that boss stage done, we're finally on to Lost City. Now Lost City is a very fun world because it gives us gold tiles. If we place a plant on a gold tile, they'll give us sun every 20 seconds. So because of this feature, for a lot of these levels, we'll only need to plant a few sunflowers. Then, like in Frostbite Caves, we'll mostly focus on planting lightning reeds, along with some pea shooters in the back, and get a quick win. Next up on day 2, the game gives us 3 red stingers in the middle row, so that lane's pretty safe, and other than that, same old strategy as day 1. But day 3 is a conveyor belt level, and we get red stingers and lava guava. Red stingers do more damage if you plant them farther back, since they get scared up front, and the lava guavas erupt when a zombie hits them and leave behind lava on the ground that damages future zombies. So will lava stronger zombies like bucketheads and try to get red stingers everywhere. Then day 4 is some more lightning reed strats, especially because now the game starts throwing out excavator zombies. These guys dig up plants and throw them a few columns behind them and block incoming projectiles with their shovels, but thankfully lightning reeds go through those shovels, helping us get some good damage in. Lightning reeds are also good against the lost pilot zombies, which drop down on our plants, since lightning reeds do so much damage when you have a lot of them, so yeah, just more reasons to love our little buddies. Next on day 5, we have a conveyor belt level, and for this one we have both AKEEs, which are these guys who shoot bouncing projectiles, and red stingers. We want to have both of them on each lane, and then it's an easy win. Following that, day 6 and 7 are pretty much more lightning reed strats, but then day 8 is a don't trample the flowers level. It also chooses our plants for us, so we don't have any sunflowers and solely need to rely on gold tiles to get sun. So I like to have my puff shrooms take up the third row, red stingers on the second, and AKEEs on the first, and we're pretty safe with this strategy. Now day 9 is a pretty annoying conveyor belt level. Our main sources of damage are snapdragons, spike rocks, and endurians, so everything needs to be pretty far up, which doesn't really work that well against the excavator zombies we get here. Then there's just tons of zombies too, so they're definitely able to push us back a bit, though we still got the win in the end. Next is day 10. In this level, our gold tiles are pretty far up in the map, but it's still worth it to place our sunflowers there anyways. Then we can just use a combination of lightning reeds and red stingers to get the win. Pretty much exact same strat for day 11, but then in day 12, we need to produce 5,000 sun, which is an insane amount. Because of that, we're going to be bringing both our regular sunflower and twin sunflower, and we can also stall the first zombie with a chard guard for extra time before eventually putting up our lightning reeds once we have enough sun production. This resulted in me getting way more sun than I needed, but better safe than sorry. So on to day 13, which is a conveyor belt level, and this one is kinda scary because of this level's bug zombies who travel really fast, along with their bucketheads and excavators. We ended up losing 3 mowers because of this, but at the end we were able to finish it out and still win. Now day 14 chooses our plants for us, and we got the sunflower, lava guava, and AKEEs. So we put 8 sunflowers pretty far up by the sun tiles, and then absolutely spam our AKEEs in the back 3 rows. After that, we'll just use lava guavas on any big collections of zombies, and we're good to go. Then day 15 is an endangered plant level, but our endangered AKEEs are pretty far back, so they aren't too much of a worry, and we can just win with lightning reeds and red stinger strats. Next up, day 16 is a pretty hard conveyor belt level since we don't have any mowers, and then it also ends the level with a wave of gargantures on every single row. But because we plant things as soon as they show up on the conveyor, we have more than enough firepower to finish them off. Now on to day 17, this level is pretty nasty. We want to plant our sunflowers on the sun tiles, especially since this level gives us imp porters. If these guys get on a sun tile, they'll put down a tent and have multiple zombies come from it. So we want to prevent that as much as possible using our sunflowers to block them, and then the lightning reeds and red stingers to damage them. Next, day 18 is a tough conveyor belt level because it doesn't really give you that many damaging plants and instead wants us to rely on stallias, which help by slowing down zombies. DPS does not get where we need it, so it is a pretty scary level, but it is doable in the end. Then day 19 and 20 are lightning reed strats, but day 21 is awesome because we get to use toadstools. These guys use their tongue to eat zombies and then have an adorable munching animation. They're just great. Not too much else to say about this level though, just plant a bunch of stuff on our sun tiles and buy as many toadstools as possible. And day 22 is also great since we finally see trap tiles. If we place a plant on a trap tile, or if a zombie steps on them, a trap comes out and kills any plant or zombie in that area. We'll mainly focus on the boulder one since it's far up and sweeps most zombies off the map, and yeah, it's just a cool level. Now day 23 is a very tough level, where we'll start out by using lightning reed strats, but this level sends so many zombies at you that it's not going to last for too long, and we pretty much always lose plants and mowers here. We can use chard guards to stall the zombies, but we got very overwhelmed and lost every single one of our mowers. But I was just barely able to get the win with a cherry bomb, so hey, we'll take it. On to day 24, this is a don't trample the flowers level, and we'll put our 5 sunflowers right in front of the flower line with lightning reeds behind. Also put up instants like mines in farther up sun tiles to get extra sun, and this level usually isn't too bad. Then day 25, 26, and 27 are all lightning reed levels, but 27 is by far the hardest out of all of them. This level has a bunch of bucket heads, which our lightning reeds aren't the best against, but my only real objective here was to save my mowers until the final wave of zombies, so then the mowers could finish every lane off. This is probably one of the best endings to a level we've had so far, so I'm proud of it. Day 28 is also a tough one, since we do get a bunch of sun tiles, which is nice, but the zombies also get a bunch of them, so their importers are easily able to send out tents. We also don't have any lightning reeds this level, so I mostly focused on putting out AKEEs, and we were able to use the boulder traps on any zombies that get too close. Now day 29 is another lightning reed level, where by the end we're just barely trying to hold on to our mowers so they can hit the final wave. Yeah, these last few levels of every world really are their hardest. And on day 30 that doesn't change, since here, our back 3 columns are all mold colonies, so we can't plant anything there. We do thankfully get a good amount of gold tiles, but because of our limited space, our lightning reeds just aren't enough with the amount of zombies they throw at us. I tried using some split peas to help, but in the end we had to use a lightning power to take out some of the lanes without a mower. It wasn't great, but we've been saving our money pretty well, so I wasn't too worried about it. Then for day 31, the game chooses our plants, and this time they gave us the magnifying grass. These are honestly a really cool plant, where you have to manually tap them to attack, and each attack takes 50 sun to use. So we want to have really good sun production, and one of them on each lane, along with some toadstools, since I just love these guys. But unfortunately, we lost most of our mowers right before the final wave, so it was kind of a slow ending, but we got it done with no powers, so I'll take it. Time for our 5th Zombot battle. This is a really interesting boss fight, since we don't have any mowers, but instead get some boulder tiles to protect us, which works out pretty alright, but pretty obvious strats of getting our AKEEs and red stingers in the back, and having bonk choys do massive damage up front by the boss. Then afterwards, it's far future time. This is another really fun world since it gives us power tiles. How these work is if multiple plants are on 2 or more power tiles with the same symbol, and use plant food on one of those plants, the other plants will also get to use plant food. Now day 1 here starts us out with 2 pea shooters on some power tiles, and then we'll place a cabbage plant on the other, and put lightning reeds everywhere else. This gives us really good damage everywhere on the map, so it's a nice and easy level. Next up for day 2, we're going full lightning reed strats, and we'll make sure to put them on power tiles too. As you know, 1 lightning reed plant food is really good, but when you can multiply that to 2 or 3, it just destroys all the zombies on the map and gives us some of the easiest wins of our life. So we'll do the same thing for day 3, then for day 4, we get a level that doesn't allow sunflowers, and instead we get a bunch of sun from the sky. But we can't actually pick up that sun until it hits the ground, otherwise it'll blow up. Pretty interesting idea for a level, but same execution as usual with lots of lightning reeds and lots of plant food being used on them. Now day 5 is more lightning reed strats, but day 6 chooses our plants for us, and our main damage will be a pea shooter on each row, and then 2 columns full of bonk choys near the front that'll just destroy any zombies that come near them. Following that, day 7 is again lightning reeds all the way, and then day 8 is a conveyor belt level where we'll finally get to use laser beams. These guys are nice since they go through zombies to hit the entire lane. Then we also get citrons, which do a ton of damage, and snapdragons that we can combine with the power tiles to completely destroy the final waves of zombies. Then for day 9 we have a plant limit of only 15 plants, but that doesn't really change our strategy. We're still mostly using lightning reeds, followed by day 10, which is also lightning reeds, and day 11, which is a last stand level, where our entire strategy is just tons of lightning reeds in the back, and then some walnuts protecting them. Next up, day 12, 13, and 14, you already know the drill, with day 14 being slightly more difficult, since we can only spend 1,500 sun, but that just means slightly less lightning reeds than usual and isn't really too much of a problem. But on day 15, they finally start giving us some harder levels, with this one having 3 endangered citrons pretty close to where the zombies spawn. But luckily, this is also where we can finally start using one of our new plants, the Infinut. This plant has half the health of a walnut, but can regenerate his health over time. And then his plant food is absolutely amazing, since it restores him to full health and creates a force field that blocks every lane. This is going to be our main wall plant for the rest of the game, and gives us plenty of time to keep our citrons safe, as well as getting our lightning reeds up. We get to see the Infinut again in day 16, which is a conveyor belt level, and we'll want to put our Infinuts up front, with spikeweeds in front of them, and bonchos behind. Then we can place a bunch of citrons on the back with power tiles to make their plant foods absolutely destructive, and that's a nice win. Then for day 17, it's another magnifying grass level where we need to spend sun to attack with them. Thankfully, the game gives us both sunflowers and twin sunflowers, so we have more than enough sun to absolutely destroy any zombies the game sends at us in this level. And we'll also want to bring both our sunflower and twin sunflowers to day 18, since in this level we need to produce 6,000 sun before beating the level. So we'll use our regular lightning reed strats, but also make sure to focus on sun production early on. By the end, we were a bit close to not making the sun requirement, but barely got the win by just planting way too many sunflowers. Then day 19 is another sun dropping from the sky level, but it doesn't change how we're playing. We go all lightning reeds and an infinite to protect them. These guys just work so well together. But for day 20, we have to protect a line of endangered starfruit up front. Thankfully, they're a huge source of damage for us in the beginning, so we do have plenty of time to get up our lightning reeds, and then we can use a plant food infinite in front of them to keep everything safe. Next up, day 21 is an interesting one, since we need to produce 5,000 sun and have a limit of only 16 plants at a time. Because of this, I like to have 4 twin sunflowers on the square power tiles, so they can have a really strong plant food effect, and then we'll fill the rest of our plant slots with a few regular sunflowers and lightning reeds for our damage. I was able to get the sun requirement really early with this strategy, so we were completely good to go. Next, day 22 is a last stand level, and here we're using mostly lightning reeds around the map with 2 citrons on lanes 1 and 5, and then an infinite to protect everything. With this strategy, we can take out most things pretty easily, and then for the Gargantua at the end, we'll just use a mower to get us the win. Then day 23 gives us only 15 plants and a restriction of only 2,250 sun. Not really a problem though, because lightning reeds are way too good, and we'll finish out day 24 with more lightning reeds like usual. This puts us at our 6th Zombot fight, and this one's pretty fun. We get to play citrons, laser beans, infinites, and power tiles. So we'll just get an army of laser beans and citrons with power tiles in the back, and they just absolutely shred all of this boss's health. So next up, it's time for Dark Ages. Now this is an interesting world since it has the least amount of levels out of every world with only 20, and they add in these graves where when you destroy them, you get additional sun or plant food. We'll also be bringing mostly sun shrooms instead of sunflowers here, but other than that, it's lightning reeds all the way. And they of course give us an easy win for night 1. Next up, night 2 gives us the puff shroom, and this guy will be someone we bring with us for pretty much the rest of the run. This plant has a pretty short range of only 3 tiles and only lasts 60 seconds before it disappears, but it's free, so I'm not going to complain. The puff shroom helps us get the 50% roll faster in the early parts of each level, and then he gives us more time to really ramp up our lightning reeds and breeze through the last parts of the level. So that's the exact strategy we'll also be using for night 3, but night 4 is a conveyor belt level and a fairly difficult one too. Our main sources of damage in this level are cabbage pults and puff shrooms, but we don't get much of either. So for harder zombies like bucketheads, we'll usually need to use a hypno shroom to get rid of them. So yeah, this level is kinda slow because of that, but we get it done eventually. But on night 5 we're back to lightning reed strats, and for night 6 it's the last stand. So we have this interesting setup where we'll put a bunch of laser beans in the back, some lightning reeds a bit farther up, and an infinite for additional protection. With this setup, we destroy all the graves on the map really quickly, and the zombies don't fare much better at all. After that, night 7, you already know the drill, but then on night 8, the game chooses our plants, so our main damage has to be fume shrooms. Fume shrooms go through zombies and can hit multiple, but they only have a range of 4 tiles. So this level is honestly kinda difficult because they're not the best damaging plants, and the zombies got pretty close to our house a few times. Still a win, but definitely one of the harder levels we've faced lately. And the difficulty doesn't stop there, since for night 9, we do get to go back to lightning reed strats, but this map also has potions. Zombies can drink potions on the ground, and they make the zombies stronger and faster, which can be a pretty big problem for us. Because of this, I like to potato mine and cherry bomb the first few zombies before we get most of our lightning reeds up. But once we finally have a good amount, things get much easier for us and we get the win. Definitely a cool mechanic for the level though. Then on night 10, it's a conveyor belt level where our main damage again is fume shrooms, there's tons of graves, and we don't have any mowers. And unfortunately, I actually forgot that zombies spawn on the graves periodically, and one almost got to the house, so I needed to use a power this level. After that, our defenses became much better though, up until 2 Gargantuas came out with the final waves. So I decided to use another instant just to make sure we could safely get the win and to speed up the level a bit. On to night 11, this is another lightning reed level, but it does give us a very annoying new zombie, the wizard zombie. These guys will turn our plants into sheep, and then stay as sheep until we kill the wizard. So usually with this level, I like to just cherry bomb them right away so we don't have to worry about their powers, and this makes this level pretty consistent. Following that, we have night 12, where here's where I made a pretty big mistake. So how this level works is we have a line of endangered puff shrooms, and because they're puff shrooms, what you're supposed to do is use plant food on them before their 60-second timer is up. That way we can keep them alive. Oh, by the way, when one puff shroom uses plant food, they all get it. During my run, I forgot this was a feature, and we got a death because of it. But that was still fine, because I came back a second time, only to get hit by these jester zombies who reflect projectiles thrown at them and will destroy your plants. I somehow didn't encounter this problem in my practice beforehand, so I lost twice to this until I finally decided in the end to just protect my guys with an infinite, and yeah, this was a really dumb time loss. But I was somehow still ahead of the old world record, and no matter what, I was not resetting here. We were already 7.5 hours in. So on to night 13, which is a conveyor belt level. This one is pretty nasty since our damage comes from puff shrooms, fume shrooms, and peanuts, so we really don't have that much DPS. But because of the disaster that happened last level, I decided to use a couple powers to make sure we got the win, because my mental really needed the next few levels to go well. Next up is night 14, and in this level we need to get 5,000 sun. But we don't have any sunflowers, which makes this one really hard. Instead, we need to destroy pretty much every grave we see and use sunbeams, which infect zombies who eat them with sun, making them drop sun every time they take damage. Their plant food is also really good since it insta-kills a zombie and gives them 0.75 sun for every damage worth of health the zombie had left. Then along with those strategies, lightning reeds like usual will be our main damage, and we were barely able to get all the sun we needed, along with the win for the level. After that, night 15 is a last stand level, and we're pretty much going all lightning reeds in the back with an infinite to protect them if needed, and some mines throughout. Like usual for these types of levels, it was an easy win. Now for night 16, we're going lightning reed strats like usual, but this level finally introduces the Zombie King, who provides a boost in toughness to other zombies. So we want to deal with these guys right away, and that's why I decided to use a power on one of the early ones, and we could cherry bomb the other ones before we were eventually able to get enough lightning reeds to naturally deal with them. Oh, we also finally got magnet shrooms here, which are super nice since they take metallic objects away from zombies like buckets, so we'll be bringing them to a lot of future levels. Now night 17 is all lightning reeds again, and in night 18, we need to win with some more game-picked plants. This means our damage dealers are fume shrooms, peanuts, and kernel pults, which isn't exactly what I would have chosen for this level, but we were still able to hold off the zombies and get another win. On to night 19, for this level we have 3 endangered magnet shrooms that are pretty close to the zombies, but we have the infinite to keep them safe, and then we'll just spam some lightning reeds. But before I could get up my infinite's wall, some zombies got through, and we got another loss. Yeah, the Dark Ages is kinda brutal, but I got the win next time, so not the worst loss I've ever had, especially since it happened so early in the level. And that means we're finally on to night 20, which is this world's Zombot fight. Yeah, this one went by fast, and the Zombot this time is a dragon. Definitely not the easiest Zombot too, since our damage dealers are kernel pults, fume shrooms, puff shrooms, and peanuts, so this was a pretty slow battle. Eventually though, we got it done, and we're now on to Neon Mixtape Tour. In this world, the gimmick is that the game will change its music sometimes, which makes the zombies move faster or slower, and also certain zombies will use some sort of special ability on certain songs. A lot of the levels in this world are really difficult, but in the first, we'll just be using regular lightning reed strats to get the win. Then day 2 is some more lightning reeds, but on day 3, it gives us a conveyor belt level. For this one, we just get cacti and chard guards. The cactus is a great plant though, since she shoots piercing shots through zombies, and if zombies get close to her, she'll bury herself in the ground to deal more damage. Her plant food is also great since it makes her deal double damage and penetrate 2 more enemies, and last until she's destroyed. So overall, this level is nice and easy. Following that, day 4 is a regular lightning reed level, but day 5 gives us endangered walnuts and fat beets. It's also nice since the punk zombies in this level can kick our endangered plants further back, making them easier to protect, before we then place down an infinite with plant food and a bunch of lightning reeds like usual. Then day 6 is another conveyor belt level, and this one gives us fume shrooms, fat beets, and celery stalkers. fat beets deal damage around them, and celery stalkers go into the ground and attack zombies from behind once the zombies pass them. So they're pretty unique plants, and it's not really early enough to be a tough level. The only kind of annoying zombies are the glitter zombies, who emit a rainbow trail behind them that protects other zombies from damage, but they're not too much of a problem till later on. Now on to day 7. For this one, I tried to get out my regular lightning reed strats, but this is a really difficult level, so very quickly literally all my lanes got overwhelmed. The combination of glitter zombies and bucketheads is just way too strong, so this is one of the more stressful levels in the run. Because of that, we needed to use some powers in the end, but I'm fine with losing some money on this level, not gonna lie. Thankfully, day 8 gives us a break with an easy level for lightning reed strats, but then on to day 9, we get a level where we start out with 10 sunflowers, and then they get kicked backwards by some punk zombies. It's essential to keep these sunflowers safe since there are only sun producers, and we need to produce 2,000 sun to win. Unfortunately though, I played this pretty terribly, and slowly but surely we lost a ton of sunflowers. Then with just 100 sun needed left to produce, I lost our final sunflower, so we had to redo the level. Yeah, that wasn't great, but like usual for these hard levels, second time around I did much better, and we got a very easy win. Next, day 10 is another interesting level since our only sources of damage are celery stalkers and fat beets, which by themselves is not nearly enough damage to beat all the zombies this level throws at us, but it thankfully also gives us time warps, which move the zombies back to the beginning of their lanes, letting us stack up some more damage. The most annoying zombies in this level though are the MC zombies, which one-shot all the plants around them, so they're really frustrating to deal with, but we still got it done eventually. Then for day 11, we need to beat the level with the plants the game gave us, so I like to use our sunflowers on lanes 1, 3, and 5, like we do with lightning reed strats, but then put our 3 Peters in rows 2 and 4. This gives us a pretty good amount of damage, and we can just mine or cherry bomb the really powerful zombies before finishing out by letting the last waves go to our mowers. But day 12 we're back to lightning reed strats, and on day 13 it's a last stand level where we'll plant a bunch of potato mines, laser beans for every lane, a couple lightning reeds and an infinite. But unfortunately for this level, I decided to walk away from my phone for a second to take a break, and this was the wrong level to do that for cause we got destroyed. Worst part is all I really needed to do was put up our infinite plant food and we would have been fine, but it happens and it's not that big of a time loss. Then at the end, the game sends a ridiculous amount of zombies, so we just need to hold on to it for the final wave and let everything go to mowers. Even the last stand levels in this world are difficult. Next up for day 14, it's another level where we have to beat it with the plants the game gives us, but thankfully our main damage dealers here are some cacti, so I'm not going to complain, these plants are awesome. Following that, day 15 is lightning reed strats, but we also have a column of endangered fat beets, so it's important to get an infinite wall in front of them, that way we keep everything protected. Pretty easy stuff overall though. Now for day 16, I don't like this level. This is a conveyor belt level, and our damage dealers are kernel pults, fat beets, and celery stalkers. We also don't get mowers and have really early gargantures coming out, so this one is very much a level that you should use powers on. And I should have beat this level first try, but when I tried to use a time warp on the very last garganture, I guess they were off the yard, so it didn't work. Yeah, I still think this is dumb. Second try successful at least, but this was definitely a costly level in the powers department. Next up, day 17 and 18 are both lightning reed levels, and then day 19 is cool since we get to use the electric blueberry. These plants are fun since about every 12 seconds, they fire a thundercloud that deals 5,000 damage in one lightning strike. So our objective is to get a bunch of these up, and it's a free win by the end. Now day 20 and 21 are more lightning reed levels, with 21 also being a don't trample the flowers level. This is also where I learned that breakdancer zombies can kick other zombies over your infinite wall. Huh. Well, guess that's a thing. Anyways, this level took another 2 tries. These flower levels are really starting to get difficult. I mean, either that or my 9 hours of playing PvZ straight is starting to get to me. But no time to worry about my mental, since day 22 is a conveyor belt level with spore shrooms, and these plants are pretty cool. Whenever a zombie gets killed by a spore shroom, it places another spore shroom in that zombie's place. So very quickly we get tons of damage going, and this level's pretty fun. But day 23 we're back to lightning reeds, and on day 24 it's a last stand level where again we're going with the laser bean, lightning reed, and infinite strat. And this time I was here to play, so it was an easy win. Next up, day 25 is some more lightning reed stuff, And day 26, we have 4 endangered spore shrooms really close to the zombies, but we also have some punk zombies at the beginning to push them back for us, giving us some breathing room. There were some really scary moments here, especially with the breakdancer zombies kicking other guys towards our endangered plants, but thankfully with the help of our trusty lightning reeds, we got it done. Following that level is a conveyor belt level where we get spore shrooms, fume shrooms, and cherry bombs to do damage. So not the strongest group ever, but we were able to beat all the zombies in this level. Then next up is day 28 and 29, which are both lightning reed strats, but day 30 is a level where we can only have 15 plants at a time. Now we'll try to get some lightning reeds going, but this level is super overwhelming with its zombies, so there's really not much hope to win by normal means. Instead, I used a few powers and relied on our mowers, which isn't my favorite way to win, but for levels like this, it's really necessary with what we have. At least day 31 is really not a problem at all. We do have to win with the plants the game gives us, and that means spore shrooms and blueberries. But once we have 3 blueberries up, it's the easiest win imaginable. I wish I could say the same for day 32 though. Yeah, this boss fight is legitimately the worst level in the game. The only plant we get that I really love here is the cactus, but even with them, the boss constantly takes out lanes of plants and sends out really hard zombies to defend against. It's just a constant game of replanting and trying to lose as little mowers as possible. I even ended up using a power here just to make sure we could win, and thankfully we beat the level first try and can go on to a very unique world, Jurassic Marsh. But before that, we finally get to pick up our Zen Garden plants, so that's a nice extra 2,000 coins. But anyways, it's Jurassic Marsh, and we're pretty much just going to keep using our lightning reed strats for most of these levels. Using the strategy of the primal pea shooter and blover is also good, but lightning reeds just seem a bit faster to set up, so they work really well for speedrunning this world. And we'll be using the same strategy for day 2, but here's where we also see the gimmick of this world. In most of these levels, we're going to have dinos walking around, which help the zombies. But in these early levels, our only dino is going to be the raptor, who kicks zombies closer to our plants. They are possible to insta-kill with a blover if you use it while they're in the air, but it's a bit hard to do right. Still a cool strategy if you can get it, but like day 1, our lightning reeds do most of the work. Then for day 3, it's a conveyor belt level where we get the grape shot, which explodes like a cherry bomb, but also shoots extra grapes out to hit more zombies, along with melon pulse who do a huge amount of damage, and garlic to move zombies to different lanes. So I use my garlic to focus the zombies onto lanes 2 and 4, that way I can consolidate my melon pulse and get a quicker win. Now day 4, 5, and 6 are all lightning reed levels, but 6 also adds in a second dino, the Stegosaurus. This dinosaur flings zombies to multiple different lanes, which can be a bit annoying, but since our lightning reeds already hit multiple lanes, it usually isn't too bad, and we still end up winning. Then on to day 7, we have a conveyor belt don't trample the flowers level. So right away we can put our primal walnuts right on top of the flowers, keeping them pretty much completely safe, and place our primal pea shooters in the back, before using a couple magnet shrooms throughout to get some hats from the Jurassic Bucketheads. Next day 8 is another lightning reed level, but it also gives us a great plant for this world, the perfume shroom. This plant enchants all dinos in a lane to fight on our side instead of the zombies, so it's very crucial for most Jurassic Marsh levels going forward. After that, day 9 is a mess since we need to use the plants the game gives us while dealing with the third dinosaur joining the game, the pterodactyl. This dino is the toughest one to deal with yet, since it'll grab zombies and put them to the back of our yard, then the zombies will go and eat our plants from behind. These are a great dinosaur to perfume shroom if we can, but since our main damage is primal pea shooters in this level, we just gotta hold on as much as possible and use every single one of our mowers by the end. At least we're back to lightning reeds on day 10, which hold up a little better against pterodactyls, but as you can see, not by much. Yeah, I had to use a couple instants on this level, so this game is really starting to get difficult here on out. So we'll attempt to use more lightning reeds for day 11, with the same results of barely getting the win, and then on day 12, this is a level where we can't lose more than 6 plants. I kinda made a mistake at the beginning by planting a puff shroom, which auto lost me a plant, but then I got a few lightning reeds, an infinite with plant food, and bonk choys behind the wall. This was working pretty well, but this level is hard since the raptors can kick zombies over our wall, and literally on the very last zombie, they kicked over a gargantor, and we lost the level. Yeah, this one hurt, since if I didn't plant that puff shroom, we would have been okay. Like usual though, I learned from my mistakes the second time, and used my instants a bit more freely to get the win. Then day 13 is a pretty easy lightning reed level, but on day 14 the game chooses our plants again, and we're back to the Jurassic pea shooter. Not really that hard of a level though, so we quickly went on to day 15, where it's time to protect 2 endangered primal walnuts. Now I wasn't too worried about the primal walnuts since they have tons of hit points, so by just getting up some lightning reeds and perfume shrooming a few of the harder zombies, we got a comfortable win. But day 16 is the opposite of comfortable, since it's a conveyor belt level where we don't have any mowers. Like a lot of these conveyor belt levels in this world, our main damage was the primal pea shooter, and then this one is just about using your grape shots and perfume shrooms at the right moments. So it's a scary level, but we handled it well. And then for day 17, we finally get our new main sun producer, the primal sunflower. This plant costs 75 sun, but also produces 75 sun instead of just 50. So she's obviously just a better sunflower for our purposes, and we're always going to be bringing her from now on. Other than that, good old lightning reed strats for day 17 and 18, but with 18 we also get to start dealing with T-Rexes. The T-Rex boosts the speed of the zombies in that lane, but they'll lose that speed once they encounter an edible plant. So the best way to play this is just putting puff shrooms in front of them, but I was also 10 hours into the run, so I forgot to do that a fair share of times. Regardless, still not too bad of a level. And next up, day 19 gives us a conveyor belt don't trample the flowers level. But this one isn't bad at all since we get cold snapdragons, primal walnuts, and spike rocks. And cold snapdragons are great since they slow down any zombie they hit with their attacks, making this level a walk in the park. Next up, day 20 is a regular lightning reed level with the added objective of producing 2000 sun. So we'll just plant a few more primal sunflowers and be completely fine. And then day 21 is a lightning reed level 2, just with some really difficult zombies. So not much we changed up, we just lost a couple mowers, but still came out on top. Now for day 22, it's a last stand level, and for this one, I like to put a ton of primal pea shooters in the back, along with 2 lightning reeds and some mines up front. And like usual, pretty easy win. Then for day 23, we finally get one of the best plants in the game, the primal potato mine. This plant is amazing since it costs 50 sun instead of the 25 sun the regular potato mine costs, but only takes 5 seconds to arm and damages zombies in a 3x3 area. So for most levels going forward, we're going to be placing them on the farther out lanes whenever we can, and just hope we get some good zombie kills. Now day 24 and 25 are both lightning reed levels, but on day 25 we also meet the Ankylosaurus. This is a super hard dino to deal with since it flings zombies forward until they get stopped by a plant. My only notes for this level are just try to survive, these dinos are hard, and past me really wasn't lying, but I did survive, and we're slowly getting to the end of this world. Now day 26 is a pretty difficult level, since we have our back 2 columns covered in mold colonies. Because of this, we're going to try a slightly different strategy of having rutabagas being our main source of damage instead of lightning reeds. This didn't work the best, but we did win in the end, I guess. But day 27 is fun, since it's a last stand level, and our defense is literally just as many primal potato mines as we can plant, with a couple lightning reeds in the back. This destroys any chance the zombies had at winning this level, and is just a really funny way to win. Now day 28 is another attempt at putting up lightning reeds, only to lose all our sun production very quickly. But hey, we did pretty well for a while, and can always rely on primal mines and cherry bombs to get some quick kills and try to last till the final waves. Somehow I succeeded at this, and honestly, I don't even know how. Next up, day 29 is where the game gives us just primal sunflowers, primal pea shooters, and primal mines. So we'll be going for a lot of lucky mine kills, and just try to keep our sunflowers and pea shooters alive as much as possible. Other than that, we're just holding out to the end wave like usual, where our mowers will get us the win. Then day 30 is a pretty regular lightning reed level with some primal mine strats, and then for day 31, the game chooses our plants, and this time we get some more cold snapdragons. This makes this level so easy since cold snapdragons are just overpowered. So it's Zombot time, this one obviously being a dinosaur, and here we get primal walnuts, primal mines, primal pea shooters, charred guards, and bonk choice. So like usual, we'll put our bonk choice up front to do most of our damage, and put everything else in the back to protect our lanes. Overall, it's a pretty easy boss fight, so now it's time for Big Wave Beach. In this world, the gimmick is we now have certain water lanes on the map that you can only plant there if you have a lily pad down first. But since this first level gives us 4 land lanes, that's more than enough to put a bunch of lightning reeds out, and then we can use lily pads for things like magnet shrooms. Day 2 is also pretty similar, but this time it also starts using the tide. This mechanic makes it so that sometimes water lanes are land, but then the tide can come up later and make it so that any plant without a lily pad will instantly die. And you can see how much the tide will come up based on where the line of seaweed is. Not too much of a problem for us since you can just make sure your plants in danger always have lily pads, but something to keep track of going forward. But day 3 gives us a conveyor belt level, and this one's pretty fun. We get chompers, which we want to put on our 2 front lines, and pea shooters and repeaters that we'll put in the back. These are just the beginning levels of the world, so like usual, they're not too bad. And once we're on to day 4, it's some more regular lightning reed strats. Next up, day 5 is another conveyor belt level, this time giving us pea shooters, walnuts, and tangle kelp. Here it's really essential to try to tangle kelp the bucket heads while they're still in the water, since we don't have nearly enough pea shooters to beat all the zombies without insta-killing a few of the harder ones. And then on day 6, the game chooses our plants, so this time our main damage will be cabbage pults. These guys are actually pretty good in this level too, since this is the level that introduces snorkel zombies, which will swim under the water and can only get hit when they're eating something, or if you use a catapult plant on them. It's a pretty comfortable win. And that leads us to day 7, which is a level that has every part of the map in danger of being underwater, meaning we want every single plant on a lily pad. Still though, mostly lightning reed strats with a few cabbage pults here and there for snorkel zombies, and then day 8 gives us bowling. This level is supposed to be reminiscent of walnut bowling from the first game, and it's pretty good, but not as great as the original. Here we use different parts of the bowling ball plant, and the strategy is basically go for ricochets and save the exploding bulbs for harder zombies. After that, day 9 gives us a few mold colonies, which are in kind of annoying places, but it's still lightning reed the whole way. And then day 10 is a conveyor belt level that gives us pea shooters, bowling bulbs, and tangle kelps. I actually really like the bowling ball plant, by the way. It's fun to use, but with this selection, we don't have the highest damage plants in the world, so we gotta be kinda careful and use plant food in the right spots. Now day 11 is lightning reed strats, and day 12 is a last stand level where we'll put down 10 lightning reeds, an infinite with plant food, and some cabbage pults for snorkel zombies, which results in an easy win. Next on day 13, we have to make at least 2,000 sun and plant no more than 30 plants. Overall, not too bad here. We just want to get around 8 primal sunflowers, 6 lightning reeds, and an infinite with a plant food, which makes our setup perfectly fine to beat everything easily. Then for day 14, the game chooses our plants again, with our main damage dealers being chompers and bowling bulbs. This definitely isn't the preferred setup, but once you get around 10 sunflowers, we can just bowling bulb and chomper spam, and it's not too bad. But on to day 15, this level is kinda scary. Here we have endangered potato mines on our 3rd column, so if any zombies even touch them, that's a loss. I try to put up lightning reeds immediately, followed by an infinite on the 6th column, and it's usually okay. We just gotta make sure our infinite keeps up its wall, but yeah, this level can go very wrong if you're not careful. Which leads us to day 16, and there isn't too much to say here. Bowling bulbs, chompers, walnuts, and tangle kelps. We've gotten these plants a few times before, and they work. But on day 17, we finally get our newest zombie, the Octo Zombie. This guy can be super annoying since he'll throw octopi at our plants, which stops them from shooting until that octopus is destroyed. Lightning reeds are usually pretty good at dealing with this issue, but I like to take Octo Zombies out as soon as possible since they can definitely do a lot of damage if you aren't careful, so sometimes a cherry bomb is worth it. Then on day 18, we finally get Guacodiles, which I love these guys so much. They fire avocado pits at zombies, and if they get attacked, they'll do a rushing attack that hits the entire lane. They can also be planted in water, but can only fire if they're on land or on a lily pad. So yeah, these guys are awesome, and I love them very much. And we soon get to show that love on day 19, since the game picks our plants, and here our damage dealers are Kernel Pults and Guacodiles. So we want one of each on every lane, and we win pretty quickly. We also win quickly on day 20, where it's lightning reed strats, and day 21, where we get a conveyor belt level with homing thistles. I'm pretty sure the entire purpose of this level is to get you to buy a premium plant, since here we get a lot of surfing zombies, and homing thistles ignore their surfboards when they stick them in the ground. So yeah, not a problem at all, and neither is day 22 since it's more lightning reeds, but in day 23 we have 3 endangered banana launchers, but thankfully these guys are great. We can use them to send out a blast at a zombie anywhere on the map, so they can be our early damage while we set up our lightning reeds. We also start getting fisherman zombies here, which will hit the closest plant with his fishing line and then pull them near him one tile at a time. But thankfully, we can completely counter these guys with infinites. Literally all we need to do is put an infinite plant food up, and we don't have to worry about their fishing lines at all, which is great because these are normally a very scary zombie. Now on day 24, it's another bowling level, and then on day 25, it's a level where we need to spend no more than 3,000 sun and defeat 10 zombies in 5 seconds. The sun requirement isn't too bad, since that's plenty of sun to get up our lightning reeds, and for the kills requirement, I decided to use a power since we had so much money saved up and this way we could get it with 100% certainty. Maybe we could have just cherry bombed them, but I'll take the win. Next up, day 26 is a conveyor belt level where we get walnuts, lily pads, and banana launchers. So easy enough, we just plant 2 columns of banana launchers and we're pretty much good to go. Then day 27 chooses 5 out of our 7 plants, so this time our sun producer is twin sunflowers and our damage is bok choys that we'll put behind walnuts. I love bok choys, so this is a fun strategy to do, even if it's not the most comfortable thing once the octo zombies come out. Still, with just a few mowers, we're good to go. Then day 28 is a lightning reed level where you can't lose more than 5 plants. But with our infinite, that's not a problem, and day 29 is a last stand level where we'll put down 8 lightning reeds, an infinite with its plant food effect, and 2 winter melons. A little scary because of octo zombies like usual, but we still got the job done. So it's day 30 time, and this one has 5 guacodiles in the back that are endangered. Luckily, lightning reed strats perfectly work for this level, so we're all good, but day 31 is probably one of the cooler levels in the game. Here we don't have any sun producers other than sunbeans, which we need the zombies to eat, and we use homing thistles as most of our damage. You want to get a lot of homing thistles up fast, especially since there are fisherman zombies in this level, and we don't have any infinites, but once we finally get a few, we're good to go, and on to the boss fight for this world. And this fight is just alright. We face off against a shark zombot and have homing thistles, banana launchers, bowling bulbs, tangle kelps, lily pads, and guacodiles. So usual strategy of getting damage everywhere, and we can use our banana launchers directly on the boss to take him out faster. Finally, once we're done, it's time for the final world, modern day. In this world, the lawn is the same as the house from the first game, but we get a mashup of every time period before this one. And the easiest way to see how that works is the portals that show up, which spawn zombies from a given time zone, and those can be really annoying. Our lightning reeds like usual are great for this, along with primal potato mines and cherry bombs, making this level a lot easier than it would be without them. Then on day 2, we have our final sun plant, the moonflower. These are a shadow plant that produce 25 sun about every 30 seconds at default, and then an additional 25 for every shadow plant adjacent to them, with a maximum of 100. So we'll try to get 5 to 6 out for this level, and then use the primal pea shooter, which we can combine with the blower by basically whenever the primal pea shooter gets its knockback effect, if we time the blower right, that zombie will die. And then like usual, we'll also have some additional lightning reeds to deal consistent damage. Now for day 3, it's a conveyor belt level with lightning reeds, snapdragons, endurians, and shrinking violets. The shrinking violets are good since they shrink zombies in a 3x3 area around them, which multiplies all damage those zombies take. So for all the big zombies on this level, we want to make sure we use a shrinking violet on them and just get good damage along with that. But this level doesn't give us many plants to work with, so in the end I lost a few mowers and needed to use a power on this garganture, but not the worst thing in the world. Next up for day 4, 5, and 6, we're going back to primal sunflowers and lightning reeds to beat the levels easily, but day 6 specifically requires us to produce at least 4,000 sun and gives us some gold tiles to help with that. I like to place my primal sunflowers on 2 gold tiles and also get some cheap plants up front before relying on lightning reeds to be most of our damage. Unfortunately though, we quickly lost all of our mowers, but we were able to get the final wave to be just 2 wizard zombies, giving me plenty of time to get the remaining sun before cherry bombing the 2 wizards for victory. Then day 7 is a pretty stressful lightning reed level, and day 8 is our first matching minigame. This is a pretty simple game where you just need to match rows of 3 or more plants, and once we get 100 matches, we win. We can also upgrade our plants with the sun we get from matching to make sure zombies don't eat everything before we finish off. Next, day 9 is a level that chooses our plants for us, and that means we get moonflowers for sun producing and nightshades for our damage. The nightshades are another shadow plant, and they can hurl their leaves when powered up by other shadow plants. We'll just get a bunch of those 2 plants down and use time warps whenever we're getting overwhelmed for this level. There's a lot of strong zombies, but we eventually get our win. Now for day 10, we're back to using our primal sunflower and lightning reed strats, but for day 11, we're going to go with nightshades and moonflowers, and we get our boy the shadow shroom. This plant is great since when a zombie eats him, he'll give them a poison effect that ignores armor and deals 900 damage over 30 seconds. So he's perfect for bucket heads, and we can use his plant food to poison every zombie on the screen. Using him along with our nightshades, we finish out all the zombies easily. Then on day 12, we're going with moonflowers and lightning reeds, since in this level we can't lose more than 10 plants, and the game gives us chicken wrangler zombies, which our lightning reeds are great against. There's also excavator zombies in this level too, making lightning reeds just a clear choice to turn this very difficult level into honestly a pretty easy one. Then day 13 is another break since it's a matching minigame with 150 matches, And on day 14, the game chooses our plants, so we're back to moonflowers, nightshades, shadow shrooms, and shrinking violets. In this one, you just want to get as many nightshades up as possible, and we'll quickly get our win. So on to day 15, where we need to protect 2 endangered primal walnuts. For this one, we'll go with the combination of lightning reeds, nightshades, and a blover, since the blover can blow away the relic hunter zombies and also balloon zombies. I almost actually lost one of my walnuts here, but we were barely able to finish out without them dying. Next for day 16, it's a very annoying conveyor belt level where all the enemies are entirely gargantures. So for this one, we want to get at least 1 winter melon in every lane, along with a strong plant like a coconut cannon or citron. Then we need to use our instants like primal potato mines wisely, and just hope things go well, since by the end of this level, they like to give us weaker plants, and we have no lawnmowers. Because of this, I bought a couple powers at the end, cause better safe than sorry. And with day 17, we finally unlock one of the best plants in this run, the Dusklobber. This is our next shadow plant, and she lobs explosive buds in her lane about every 3 seconds, which have splash damage in a 3x3 area. But then, when powered up by other shadow plants, she can lob buds down 3 lanes instead of just 1, so we're pretty much going to be going with her to be our main damage, and moonflowers to be our main sun producers for the rest of this run, making day 17 very easy. And day 18 is the exact same strats with the Dusklobber, but for day 19, it's conveyor belt time with laser beams, primal pea shooters, coconut cannons, and escape routes. So we want to get damage dealers in every lane and use escape routes on strong zombies, since when eaten they transform into an insta-kill plant, making them really lethal for this level. Now day 20 is regular Dusklobber strats, and day 21 is the same, but we need to start worrying about football zombies. These zombies enter the yard at a high speed and then target the first plant they get to, insta-killing them. So it's important to keep plants like puff shrooms down constantly to stop them from getting too far. But other than that, not too bad of a level. Next up, day 22 is more matching, this time with 75 matches, and day 23 is back to using Dusklobbers, along with a new plant for us, the Grimrose. This is another shadow plant that instantly kills the strongest ground zombie in that lane, except for gargantures and mechanical enemies, to which it does 600 damage. So these are another amazing plant to have to counter things like octo zombies and football zombies, and they're one we'll always be bringing for the rest of the run, including day 24, which of course is Dusklobber strats. But day 25 is a bit more difficult since this level gives us a bunch of dead plants and we need to use the intensive carrot to revive them. I like to get my fat beets and kernel pulse out first, followed by some fume shrooms and coconut cannons to try my best to get some good damage in. But with the large amount of football zombies this level throws at you, a lot of plants are going to die. Thankfully though, we were able to hold off most of them to get hit by a mower, and then for this last guy, we just killed with a fat beet. Pretty good playing right there. Next, day 26 is a Dusklobber level, but this one's really hard, and very quickly all my mowers went down just because of the sheer amount of zombies this level throws at you. I did hold it off pretty well though, and we were barely able to finish out the last Garganture with a plant food on a Dusklobber, so I'll still take it. Then day 27 is our last matching, this one with 100 matches needed, and day 28 is our next hard level since we need to produce 3000 sun before winning. So for this level, we're bringing both primal sunflowers and moonflowers just to try to get our sun production to its max. I like to get around 4 primal sunflowers and 4 moonflowers, and then we can use things like puff shrooms on sun tiles for extra sun, and use our Dusklobbers as our main damage. This strategy ended up being very successful, so that's another stressful level done. And day 29 isn't nearly as bad since it's Dusklobber strats again, but day 30 is one of the hardest levels in the game. In this level, we need to protect another line of flowers against some really difficult zombies. So I like to start by planting a bunch of primal sunflowers, and we'll use some infinuts to stall the first zombie. After that, we can start getting out some primal pea shooters to shoot zombies backwards and try to hit them with blover combos, and just rely as much as possible on our infinite plant food to keep zombies away. By the end, I had 2 infinite plant foods up instead of just 1, and even used a few powers just to make sure we were absolutely as safe as possible, and thankfully we got the win. Beating that level is a relief, especially since day 31 is easy. It's just put up some Dusklobber and lightning reeds and win. So we're finally on to the final 3 boss fights. For these levels, you can get one of 3 Zombot fights, and the one we want first is Egypt, which I had to reset twice for, but that isn't too bad. The reason we wanted this fight is because it has snapdragons, and their plant food does a giant amount of damage to the Zombot, so it's by far the fastest. Other than that, you've seen enough Zombot fights, so I'm not going to explain putting the other plants in the back and protecting our lanes and all that. We're basically just going fast. Then second Zombot fight we're going for is Far Future, which I got second try, and we want this one because of the stage's power tiles. We can set up a bunch of them to get huge damage on the boss whenever we use plant food, and that makes this fight the fastest out of the others. Finally, the very last boss fight has 4 possible Zombots, and we want Frostbite Caves, which we got 7th try. Yeah, this one took a bit, but it's 100% worth it since the plan is to get a ton of damage dealing plants in the middle 3 lanes, and then we can use our leftover money to just spam the firepower. This will get rid of all the ice protecting the Zombot so we can constantly do damage, and finally once we grab the waffle with a taco in it, that's time 14:07:55. So here's my reaction. We did it! Oh my gosh, that took so long. Let's go! Anyways, that's first place on the speedrun leaderboards. Alright, subscribe if you enjoyed. Bye.